Welcome to today's video. Before beginning, please read the trade disclaimer. Please understand that this is not financial advice, just my commentary and opinion. So, as per usual, first thing I'm going to be looking at is the standard fib ranges, and in this sort of case, what we're seeing from the high to the low, that Bitcoin has been testing the 0.5 range and currently has failed to break that level. Now, one of the reasons I can look at this is, again, looking at this sort of point here where we had this bearish candle. Well, it's a bullish candle, but it's bearish liquidity candle. So it's been tapped, almost twice at this sort of point. So if we are unable to break above this and convert this to like a breaker block, then potentially this bearish order block should play out. And what I mean by this is we reject over here to test potentially the lower side, and this can easily be the 236 point or even the 382. As we haven't had any sort of major sort of price action over the weekend. It's just been ranging, which has been perfect for anybody scalping. So this is what I'm kind of seeing with this sort of fib pool. The other fib I'm going to be looking at also is a trend-based fib. So in this sort of case, I can look at, for example, say start off with maybe from this high to this low to that high over here. When we look at this, we can see Bitcoin is again on the higher side of the trend-based fib, just above the 0.133. Now, in this sort of case, again, I'll be naturally targeting, the 0.5 levels or the 618 levels. However, Bitcoin has held up pretty well within this sort of range. The other way you can also trade this is effectively trade this as a potential channel. And what you want to do in regards to that is build a nice channel in this sort of case. And what we would look at is not from this high, but a channel which is potentially moving up, an ascending channel. And again, as mentioned in my previous videos, you want to have at least 3 points. So in this sort of case, if I select, say, from this high to this point over here to this low, this could be a nice channel, and it could be currently in a potential area of a a low, right? But or out of the channel if we are going to move up. So we have to look at it from that point of view. The other way I can look at this, this can be an SFP if we are going to move up and maybe test that 618. And if I do, then obviously load up the the previous fib. It lines up pretty well in regards to testing that 618 area where we could be in the middle of that channel. Okay, so that's one perspective of looking at it. Now, the other perspective is if we do hold out of this channel, there is the potential that the trend could be reversing locally, where we could potentially just move sideways for a bit. And in that aspect, you'd have to reevaluate and redetermine the channel itself. And at that sort of point, you might want to then look at something along the lines of maybe from this high to these two high up here, and maybe that low. With potentially this could be a new channel, right? And I use that as potential because it all depends if the price drops back in within this range again. Now in this sort of case, the nice point you want to be looking at on the lower side of the range again can come down to where Bitcoin can tap the 382 level, and which could be in the middle of the range, and that can play out as normal. The other thing you also want to look at is if you remove these channels, you'll want to look for potential areas of liquidity. And if you trade with order blocks, you want to then look at which sort of areas of liquidity have been taken. You've got this block potentially here. The liquidity here, I would say, has been. You have a block potentially over here also. Okay, so there is the opportunity for price to come down to this block to test it and bounce and then go to that 618 level. Again, it's a plan that we always have. Okay, the other thing I could potentially look at is also how the Titan IG is doing, and currently it's still bullish, but there is that higher chance that it could turn bearish if the buying volume drops and we get the selling volume increasing, and that what normally could trigger at this sort of level a potential drop. So personally, I'm not in any sort of major trade, but looking at it from a long-term point in my previous videos, I expect the price to come down. So if I'm potentially scalping, I would scalp the range. If I'm doing any sort of day trades based on how the close is tonight, I will take the trades accordingly. Okay. The other thing that I would also want to look at would be, potentially the hourly time frame. So looking at the hourly chart, you can see BTC has just been ranging in that area, and that makes it very nice again for potential scalps. So the way I would look at this in this sort of case, you'd have this low to the high, and then you can see we've been bouncing off that 618 zone. And again, if I then use one of my other templates, I believe it's this one, and then line it up from that high to that low, potentially here, we get a nice little channel to trade in. Okay, and we're currently at the low of that channel. And the other things again I'm going to be looking at is the areas of confluence for more liquidity. So here would be nice on the downside. I don't see anything major here locally or even down here, because I would see that expectedly to be taken up. Okay, you also have a potential area down here, and if we do come down, then this becomes another area where you'll have liquidity where you can have a bounce back to if we break down from this range. Another thing I have looked at on the 4-hour time frame is a harmonic pattern. So we'll go to the 4-hour time frame, and this pattern in itself is a possible crab, bat, or gartley. I've outlined the different price targets for D, and the ranges are roughly based on the height of this square box to identify the highest and the lowest it could potentially go. Again, does not mean this will happen because we're in the process of creating it, but if we look at it from a confluence based view and we are looking at the fibs, it lines up pretty well, I could say, if we get a wick up to this sort of level or wick to the 786 level. And at that point, you'll get the completion of that harmonic. And once this does complete, and then there's the potential for the price to then come back down again, potentially maybe to, I would naturally target, if I'm looking at the lower side, again, down to the 618, ideally, or even the 382 on the higher side, a similar sort of level. So if I hide that fib just to make it easier, you're looking at targets of again 382, which is slightly above what the current price is, or this is again based on the high side, or down to that 618 area, and that could be trying to retest for this liquidity here on the 4-hour where we've had a wick down originally. So that's what I would look at potentially on the 4-hour side of things. The other thing that's also interesting for me is I also like looking at levels on exo charts. So we're just going to go over to that. And on exo charts, what you can see, we have the weekly chart up. And so you've got the previous week POX levels, which are highlighted in the red. So you've got the previous week one at 41,880 8, and then you have the one below, which would be at the 32k level. So as we're currently sitting around here, based on how this week closes, you have the two potential targets for the upside and downside based on how Bitcoin behaves. So in this sort of case, we can move up to that 40 odd K level, close that, the POC level from on the high, and then we can get that sort of maybe retracement down, retesting this week's POC that is being created, and then there is potential maybe if this is filled for more downside. I can't tell you 100% which direction we're going to go. It's based on everyday analysis that I do, based on the trades I take. Looking at the daily side of things, you've got these local levels. So you've got the POC here at 37.675, which could potentially easily fill based on the price level we're at. This is on the daily basis. So you've got nice sort of targets on on the low side here. You can see the previous ranges have been filled. There is a bigger daily POC sitting at the 40, almost just near the 42k level, which lines up well if the price is going to go up. So that's where I will target. So locally, looking around here. Then you've also got this range that I've built up by merging the 7-day sort of charts, and we're looking at the range high to the range low, and currently we're testing the of just using the VPOC of the 7-day volume just as a support area. So if we do potentially lose that, it then comes down to I'm looking at the area of value area low ideally as a potential target, and again I would be using that with confluence with the trading view charts that I've made. So going over the weekly, the daily charts, and also looking at the range using volume profile, we add that up with how it plays out with our trading view charts, and build a plan overall. Yes, it may seem I'm not giving a clear direction. However, I have given directions previously. But the best way for you to actually trade any of this is trade this level to level. Do your analysis, and if you're trading, every day or scalping, is to find a potential range and effectively, milk that range. Understand that obviously trading, it can be difficult, but when you have the right tools, the right mentality and focus, you're able to achieve your goals. And another important thing I will always say is, make the decisions yourself. Do not, follow anybody's financial advice, because then, most people are not allowed to give financial advice on YouTube. And hence why everything that I've shown here, again, is just my opinion. So I know based on the ideas that I've shown, the type of trades I'll be taking. So all I can advise is take your trades, with a good plan, and have good confluence, and ensure all your trades use stop losses and have good take profit targets. I wouldn't naturally go all in bullish or all in bearish. I do believe we're at a stage that the market is, having a nice big pullback. And this is not a smaller pullback, which everybody is accustomed to. If you watch my previous videos, I am expecting prices to go lower. Simply not because I'm a bear or a bull or anything as such. It's based on how, price has been behaving, market actions and cycles. Okay? So please don't trade in hope. And, if you ever need to have a chat with myself or anybody in the Titan Traders group, join the Discord and give us a message. The link's in the video. And if you are going to be trading, you can support the channel by using the Bybit link also. And don't be afraid to ever contact me. I'll always be happy to help. Alright, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.